Hello, this is Black Country Blokes chewing the fat.
Listen.
I've been hearing a lot lately about men don't talk, but in my experience, men do talk, just people aren't listening. So it's going to be me and a group of blokes discussing our struggles and victories through life. Warning, there may be some bad language, so apologies to all the mums, especially my own. Let's get going.
Listen.
Avin, yeah, this is Black Country Blokes chewing the fat. With me, Kev Dillon, Aaron Dew, Craig Pinches. Unfortunately, Lee Cadman can't be here today, but we're very lucky to have a very, very good friend of mine, Nick Davis. Now, I've talked about Nick on lots of the shows. He's an NLP practitioner, a hypnotherapist, and a life coach. There'll be other podcasts telling you more about Nick. But today we've been talking about the difference between nerves and anxiety. I'll give you a quick example. Today my little girl started her first day at primary school and I've been as nervous as hell for her. But that's not anxiety. In my experience of nerves, we need nerves to make us run faster so we could outrun and outfight them dinosaurs. Anxiety is crippling. When I used to have my anxiety attacks, I felt like I was having a stroke. I was physically held in place by, well, something that Nick will tell us about in a bit, but it was a crippling sensation. Whereas nerves, I'm nervous about doing exams, I'm nervous about doing a speak, I'm nervous about going on the pool. Nerves are different to anxiety. So Nick, could you please talk to us about the differences in your professional opinion?
Yeah, so from a psychological, neurological perspective, we call it fear. Fear is a normal, everyday thing. So if you see a dog that's got really sharp teeth and it's growling at you, it's normal for you to feel fear. Your body goes into, well, there's five stages. So you've got fight, flight, freeze, appease, or faint. And they're the 5 things that your body will do. So a lot of people think people go into the fight phase, but actually that's the least likely thing to happen. And the first thing we do is our bodies react to it, dumps a load of adrenaline into your body and then epinephrine into your brain. So the adrenaline makes your bigger muscles like your legs, your chest, your arms, they're ready to run away as fast as you can to keep your level of survival. And the epinephrine that goes into your brain, that's the bit that makes your awareness, your vision, your sense of sound and everything, almost makes time stand still so that you've got the best chance of survival.
What's epinephrine, sorry?
Epinephrine is a chemical that's produced in the brain. So we all know about adrenaline, that's what goes into your muscles. But epinephrine is it's a hormone that goes into the brain and it basically makes your sight really, really bright and it kind of slows everything down a little bit. But this is to make sure that you can see, hear and feel everything that's going to keep you safe. So that's perfectly normal. So whatever you want to call it, nerves, worry, fear, that's actually a normal thing. So if you're nervous about sparring and getting through the ropes, it's absolutely normal. There are ways of reducing that, but sometimes what happens is when we have like an adrenal dump, so these chemicals hit our bodies and they come in too quickly because the fear is excessive, then we can get freeze, which you and I have talked about. And freeze just basically sticks you to the spot. And this is something I used to suffer with as a youngster. And sometimes I'd just be frozen to the spot. And what used to annoy me was like, I'd say to myself, what use is that? What on earth would like being frozen to the spot? Anyway, did a load of research on it. And actually, if you were to be attacked by, say, lions and tigers and things like that, dangerous animals normally have black and white vision and they have poor peripheral vision. So actually you're not going to outrun a cheetah, or a leopard or something like that. Your best bet is that it doesn't recognise you as meat and it just thinks that you're a tree or something like that. So the freeze response actually historically is a good response. And then we've got appease. Appease is where you try and befriend somebody. So if somebody's going to mug you or attack you, you try and become the friend to give you a better chance of survival. And the other one is faint. And if you faint, that's another thing where if you're lifeless on the ground, you're more likely to be left alone.
Playing possum.
Yes, exactly. But fight is actually the last thing that we do. It's when you're cornered and there are no other options. That's when people trigger that. But actually, and that's why boxing is such an amazing sport, because to actually trigger the fight response, we have to override a lot of our sort of programming. And like you say, anxiety, which I suffered with, I collapsed in the year 2000, woke up the next day with anxiety and panic attacks.
All 4 of us have suffered with that, haven't we?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's horrific. Like I said to you on a previous when we chatted previously, is I got stabbed when I was 19 in the heart, and I died. I went into hospital, no pulse, no blood pressure, no heartbeat, and they revived me somehow. I shouldn't be here, but the fear of dying that day it was okay, because you go into this sleep when you're going to pass to the other side or whatever happens, but it's a beautiful, peaceful sleep. So the fear subsides and then your body takes over. When I had panic attacks and anxiety, 8 times a day I was dying. Felt like I was dying. And there's a difference between anxiety and panic. Anyone who's had a panic attack, you absolutely 100% every cell of your being thinks you're going to die at that moment, or something terrible is going to happen. And it had happened time and time again, and it's horrible. And it's irrational. It's like phobias and things like that. The response isn't normal, like people who are scared of spiders or heights or things that aren't going to kill them. And that's why I specialise in working with those things.
Is there like anxiety and stuff like that? You know, forgive my ignorance here, but is there a chemical response as to what triggers that?
Yeah, exactly. And you know, ask any questions, just because, you know, it's not about ignorance or anything like that. You know, I've spent a lot of time dedicating my research to this, and I'll try and explain it in a simple way. So any questions is really helpful, because I want to, you know, for me is I don't do this I do this to help people, because it's such a horrible thing to experience, I think. And anxiety is the #1 search term on the hypnotherapy directory. We're in the middle of an anxiety epidemic.
Yeah. But do you think people are jumping on the bandwagon sometimes? Because I hear so much, oh, our little Jessica's suffering terrible, and I'm thinking people are getting the wrong idea of it. They're trying to label it like, oh, I suffer terrible with migraines. You've got a bloody headache. They by using it all the time, they're devaluing what it actually is.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I do believe, when we look at the research and the studies, that now there's more people with anxiety than ever before in history. And if you think about it, after the Second World War, all the people that came back with shell shock and things like that, you know, so life is actually a lot better nowadays than it used to be. But yet we're suffering more, and there's a few actual factors in this. One, I think there is more toxins in the food chain than ever before. And what happens with anxiety, whenever the body thinks it's under attack, and this is why I believe, you know, that we're suffering more anxiety. So if the body thinks it's under attack by a toxin, so you eat something, so we've got loads of aspartame, sweeteners and things like that in our food. You know, all the crops are sprayed with Roundup, glyphosate. So when you ingest these things that aren't organic foods, then that puts your body under attack anyway. So this is why we can have like mild anxiety, medium anxiety and things like that. I know if I drink things with sulfates in, that can give me anxiety. I have an allergy to that, or maybe there's more people that get that.
What are sulfates? Sorry.
So sulfates are things you might find in squashes or wines and things like that, and it's to preserve them. But I know when I drink those things, my heart rate goes up, I can start to sweat for absolutely no reason. So the first thing is my advice with helping with anxiety is tidy your diet up. Obviously drinking lots of water. The other thing is stresses. We've got like an emotional rucksack that we carry around, and when that's full, your body goes into fight, flight or freeze and appease or faint. So you start to have all these sort of palpitations, you're sweating, your thoughts might become irrational, you start to panic, but really it's because you've got too much going on in your life. And nowadays, we live in this like Instagram society where everybody looks like they're doing really well. And I laugh, because I say, if you look at my Facebook, that's my best bits. Yeah. I'm not going to put the pictures when I'm crying on there, or, you know, my life's going really bad.
Because you're not plastic. But how many people do that? Yeah. Here I am, oh, look at my little fat rolling. They're trying to make out that it is sincere, lovely people, but really they're doing it for, oh, you look beautiful, really. And if I think the true soldiers are the ones who not battling saunas, because that's bollocks, but these people who have real conversations, but they're not doing it just for gratification.
Yeah. And the thing is, I think all four of us are here with a unique understanding that we've all suffered with some form of mental illness, but we're out there going, well, actually, as men, and, you know, we're the most likely to commit suicide than anybody else, you know, in our age groups and things. Let's get this conversation started so we can help other people, you know, because it's, you know, I said to you, Kev, I've had some dark times in my life where I wanted to talk to people and I've not been able to. But then when I first met you, we were a bit like that, and then we kind of got chatting and everything else, and we used to have a laugh with Quint and Ricky, and, you know, we'd say, who wants a hug today, lads, in the boxing club, you know. And we made it all right, that it was all right to talk about your feelings. But, you know, when I was a kid, it was like, you know, if you showed weakness, that was it. People would pick on you, and it's the wrong thing to do. And I remember saying to you, Kev, when you were worried about telling people about your eyesight and stuff like that, if I tell people, they might have a go at me, it might make me weak, this, that, and the other. I said, no, it'll make you into strength. And when we were on the radio for 2.5 hours, honestly, you grew a level that day where I thought you just bossed the whole interview at the end. And then you just came out a different person, I thought.
Well, it's thanks to you and Aaron Me and Nick have known each other for 15 years and been through a lot of dark places together. And Nick allowed me to start talking about it. Then Aaron Dew invited me on our brother company, Find Your Voice, where I was very open about my eyes. And then Nick pushed me to go on men's radio station, which is in London. And that's really how this Black Country Blokes started. So our stories can hopefully help, and realising there is dark days, but bloody bright mornings.
Yeah.
I think you're going to, I mean, by talking about these kind of things, like you say, it brings understanding. There's no question too stupid, as I say.
Yep.
You know, I try to forgive myself with labelling myself as ignorant with certain things I don't know about. But just talk it, because you've not got to talk to anyone in particular. And I think that's where the fear comes from, that you're going to get judged, is when you feel like you're talking to someone in particular. If you just talk it, the right people will gravitate towards it.
Exactly. And let me just say one thing, and I said this to Kev. If you show somebody your vulnerability and they abuse that, they're a bully. They're a bully. And what I say, you know, when you show your vulnerabilities, you hunt those bullies out, you smoke them out, and then I avoid them. Because I said to Kev, if somebody has a go at you for your eyesight, what a horrible person. And if I was to talk down to you because you didn't know something, I'd be a horrible person. That's why I say, you know, be brave, and if somebody shoots you down, it's their problem, not yours.
I think that's a beautiful message. I just want to jump in on that, because just before I was coming here, a good friend of mine, but he's got his close circle of friends, so he's got probably 8 or 9 people, I don't want to put him on loudspeaker, who are his best friends, and then I'm kind of just in that circle on the outside. And he just messaged me, because I do a lot of this stuff. I share my anxieties, I share my vulnerabilities. If I have a shit day, for no apparent reason, I'm trying to figure out why I'm in a funk, I will say it, because I don't want to show this Instagram highlight reel of instant gratification. So long story short, he messaged me literally as I pulled up, and he just says, have you got any books on stress and overwhelm and stuff? And I said, well, I've spoken X about it. I go, actually, I'm outside now, a boxing club where it's just gonna be 4 lads just having a conversation. And his message is, I hate telling myself this or mention it to anyone. I'm reading this, by the way, on a phone, as I feel it'll show me as a weak person. And that made my heart like sink a little bit, because we're all sitting here now and we're thinking, actually what we're doing, it's a normal thing, us sharing vulnerabilities, but it's not a normal thing. For him to have to step outside of his initial circle, either of the fear of being judged, which he might not be, you know, they could all be supportive, I'm sure there's no bullies in that. It's a shame. So hopefully this gives a platform for people to know that, look, there are people like this, us, and actually probably even within his circle, if he actually said, you know, I need to talk to you, I bet you somebody else would turn around and say, you know what, I've probably got the same problem.
Well, the funny thing, when I used to play rugby and I collapsed and I got panic attacks and anxiety, I thought I had about 50 friends. I used to go out loads and, you know, this, that and the other. Found out I had 2. And loads of people spoke behind my back. And until I got myself sorted and started doing the job I do now, what I found, there was a load of people that were horrible to me, and they were like, oh, look at him, he went from being really confident, and now look at him. And they were laughing at me, and it was a terrible time. But then, about 2 years after I'd started doing my job, because then people were going, why is he doing a girl's job? He had a great job at BT, now he's a therapist, he's doing a girl's job. And I had it hard for a long, long time. And then after about 2 years, people started taking me seriously and started accepting me. And then a few of those guys came out of the woodwork and went, yeah, I used to suffer with depression, I used to suffer with anxiety. And I had the opportunity to be horrible to them, and I said, okay, I'm just going to stop you there. I'm not going to help you. I said, but I wish you well. Here's some numbers for different people, but I don't feel I can help you because of what you did back then. But I didn't take the opportunity to return it to them. I just said, I respect you, but I'm not going to treat you. And I was able to keep my head held high, you know, and I thought maybe sometimes it's a fear that if I say I've got anxiety, I'm going to be the one that gets picked on.
What was that you've always told me about how someone acts is opposite to how they are?
Yeah, so what you see on the outside with people to the extreme, the opposite's true on the inside. So if you see someone that's like really cocky and confident, they're very, very insecure on the inside. Consequently, you might see someone who's a big unit with loads of tattoos, this, that and the other, looks all nasty, they've got a real scared side to them. So the opposite's true. And the other thing as well, and this is what shocked me, is if you see someone who's sickly, sweetly nice on the outside, normally a nasty person behind closed doors. And that's why I don't buy into this Instagram thing, because you look at these people with the fake photos and everything on there, and you can tell, you know, and I teach this sometimes on, I run a body language course, and I say to people, you know, whatever you see on the outside, you can predict what's going on the inside.
But I've found, because my Kate, she loves Facebook, never puts anything on it. And it made me honestly think about, there's 2 types of people who use social media. One who's very nosy, i.e. Kate Dillon. And the people who need gratification.
Are you sure you want to air this now?
Yeah. She knows she's nosy. Even Jasmine knows she's nosy. There's people who need gratification. I fall into that. You know, when I post something on the Lions page and I beep beep, oh, I've had 3 likes. Beep beep, I've had 4. And then, but we become addicted to people's gratification.
Dopamine hit.
It's a dopamine hit.
Yeah.
But that's how Facebook and now run. They actually employ people from casinos and things alike to bring them in and say, right, how can we make our app more addictive?
Attention.
So they actually employ.
Yeah, I heard. I don't know if this is true, but I saw a post saying Facebook might be removing the like thing because, and I've written a few articles for magazines and stuff about kids getting addicted to likes and things like that. And it's like, and like you say, the
think
dopamine
it's
hit.
so important that you do that. So, again, going back quickly to my story, 8 years ago, I went on YouTube. And if you watch my first, you don't want to watch my first YouTube, but if you watch some of the later ones, I look very confident. And I've had messages coming back to me saying, oh, you're confident, you're not shy, you're not anxious, or X, Y, and Z. Then what I've done is I've literally sent them a screenshot and I've recorded it probably about 60 times before, just trying to get it right, just even trying to get my words right. And I was saying, look, what you're seeing there, but at the same time, I'm always showing the whole extent of it.
Yeah.
And in terms of likes and stuff, so I've been fortunate, I've never really taken to likes or anything because I understand it. Like at the end of the day, I say messages because I want to say it, and I hope that one person reads it. Yeah. And sometimes I might not get the likes, but I'll get a lot of DMs on the side. And that means more to me because if I can help that person, and that's really important. So I've started recently, and I've been working with some people, and what I tell them to do is, so there's algorithms with Instagram and Facebook. If you release a post at a certain time, it's more likely to get more traffic. And what I've done purposely for the last 3 months is release my posts at the most random times where nobody's probably going to be there, just to show people, look, it's not about that. And then if somebody's really interested and they want to learn something or read one of my articles or something, the information is always there. We need to step away from that because that is, I think, what's killing us.
Yeah.
You know?
But actually, the funny thing is we're and this is the thing is our unconscious minds, the limbic system of our brain, is designed to be driven towards this kind of stuff. So if we said today, and this I guarantee that we should do this. If Kev said today, got a few of the lads in today. Today we're going to be talking about sex, violence, and our favourite food. I guarantee there'd be more lurkers and watchers on that than any intellectual conversation. The limbic system, first of all, is designed to keep you safe. So if Kev had put, Aaron, sorry, what's your name again?
Craig.
Aaron, Craig and Nick in crazy brawl. Boom, 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 boom. Everyone's on there because they want, it's danger, we need to find that. Or sex or whatever. And this is how newspapers sell. That's why the trashy headlines sell more than anything else.
My dad always said that about fencing. Because if you say, we're doing a day of fencing at the Lions, 4 people would turn up, you say, but this time they're using real swords, you'd have the place sold out.
Yeah. And that's the thing, and it's sad, Craig, because you think about it, you put those things in, those headlines, but limbically, and this is our minds betray us. We're actually attracted to things, but our conscious minds backward engineer and give us a reason why we did that. I remember there's a friend of mine who's a teacher, and we have both said, I really dislike those women who wear the very fake plastic, plastic chests and orange skin and, this, that and the other. And then we just said, I really can't stand that look. And then Katie Price pops up on the telly, and both of us go, boom, look at the telly, and then look away. My limbic system is betraying my intellectual brain and going, look at that, because it means, because that look means, they're healthy, so you'll be able to reproduce.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, it's battling with that part of your brain.
So that's where clickbait and that comes from.
Exactly,
and that's how they manage to sucker you in.
And just on what you said there as well, you've just dissected my actions now, so I'm sitting here thinking, I don't.
God, Kev's handsome.
Apart from that, though.
I thought we weren't allowed to drink.
Lost my train of thought. I was just saying, so with the likes and stuff, what I've realised though, as you said that, Nick, that's really interesting, because when I do a podcast episode, I will pick out the bit that draws people in. So, for instance, Ashley Nixon, who's coming on the show, it was drugs, cartels, and finding God. 3 of the most random things together.
Great.
That had the most listens straight away. So, again, I convinced myself that I wanted his message to be heard and to help people and empower them and give them that find your voice feeling. But that's crazy.
It's sensational. It's sensational as well. If you people link things in, and they don't even have to be connected. Like you could say. Pope, porn addiction, and whatever, and they go, the Pope's got a porn addiction, I've got to read this, but they're actually 2 unconnected stories. Absolutely. But the way you put that in is pulling people in, and that's why. And this is the sad thing: is stuff like this probably won't be that popular. you know, overall, because it won't sell as much as the
Yeah.
stuff. And especially in society now, we're drawn into this, let's get something in a couple of seconds that we can see, get drawn in, get your dopamine hit, move on. But
Yeah.
the problem is, when you get a dopamine addiction, this is where we get depression, because the more we get those hits, the less likely, the more we need for the next one. And that's why people go into addictive behaviour and everything else.
That's really
It's
interesting.
crazy. It's a play on. It's a play on things that you don't even suspect that that's happening to you without speaking about
Yeah.
it. You'll be doing that and thinking, bloody hell, that's clickbait,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you're not realising
Yeah.
it's actually affected you so deeply to make you click on it.
Yeah.
It's manipulated your.
And the thing is like, you know, I went on the whole spiritual journey as well, because like when I collapsed, there was the anxiety and the panic hit me so bad. I was like meditating every day, and I've done every form of meditation for like months, years, and then, you know, stopped drinking and everything else. And my rugby mates, they go, Nick's found God. But I wanted to be such a spiritual person. I'll go the other way. I wasn't too bad, you know. I was just a rugby bugger. I liked to have a massive social life and everything, and work hard. But I went the other way, and I tell you what, I didn't like that either, because it was like I was a different person. I thought, I'm not here. I'm not like a Mother Teresa. That's not me.
Yeah.
So what I found in life is you've got to balance the two. You've got to balance your ego, and you've got to balance your spiritual side, and meet them together. Because if you look at the world, it's all about balance. It's light and dark, hot and cold, and everything else. And that's the bit where it exists. So I'm like, do you know what? I'm going to buy myself a nice car because I like that. It's shallow.
But don't feel guilty about succeeding.
No, exactly.
I think you've got to know yourself, and
Yeah.
like you say, you've got to find a balance. Now, in order to find a balance, as corny as it may sound, you have literally got to find yourself and
Yeah,
what works for you.
yeah.
I mean, I'm of the spiritual nature. I'm not a religious guy. I believe in a higher being. You
Yeah,
know, I
I'm
believe
like
in
that.
the stars and the mystery of the stars and things
Yeah.
like that. Now, when I'm having tough times, I've got a friend down in London. He's a Muslim, and I'm messaging when I'm having a really tough night. No, I'm not a religious guy, bro. I will send him a message and say, bro, I could do with a prayer.
Yeah.
No, I'm not a religious person, but sometimes I'll find that. So, you know, I'm curious as to finding that balance. That
But
just
you know
suggested.
why? If you look at all religions, they're all essentially the same.
Yeah.
There's some person that lives up there, you know, whatever, whether you're
Yeah.
spiritual or whatever, like, you know, I'm into the law of attraction, the universal stuff, and
Yeah.
and I like being general, and I've studied a few different faiths, and I've got lots of different friends from different cultures, and I'm interested, but they're all essentially the same. You believe in a higher power, whatever that is, and I think that's very useful. You pray or meditate, they're all essentially the same thing. Prayer and meditation are very, very similar, and you try and do good. But
Yeah.
in any faith or whatever else, there's always going to be bad people that misuse it. You know, it's like boxing. You know, somebody will learn boxing to be horrible to other people. Somebody will learn boxing because they want to better themselves and other people. Absolutely. And for me, it's about surrounding yourself with the right people. You know.
I was told not long back by a friend who I do music with, his wife. She's into alternative living and that. She said to me something, and she said, "Find your tribe."
Yeah.
And I thought, that's actually quite powerful, because you can grow up with all these people, and they say you outgrow the fish in the pond that you was raised in, and that's very true, you know. And it's not that you don't like each other, it's just spiritually, mentally, and, you know, intellectually, I feel like I want to progress a lot further than they want to,
Yes.
you know. So
Some people are good for certain chapters. If you're very lucky, you have someone who starts in the first chapter and is there at the very last page.
Yeah.
But some people are just not to be used, but they've served the purpose. They've helped you to become someone, and there's that point where sometimes we hang on to these people because I've known you for 30 years.
Yeah.
But we have nothing in common. Oh, do you remember when 30 years ago we went on the swings? And that's when you don't fall out with them. You just go, I wish you all the best in everything you do, and if we see each other, we'll be friends.
I remember you helped me out with this when there was a person I thought was a good friend of mine, and they kept letting me down and stabbing me in the back and this, that and the other. Then Kev said, what you got to do, it's all about pots. He says, you've got your best friends, you've got your friends, your acquaintances, your drinking buddies, and then people you just say hello to. And he said, switch pots. And that was the best thing I did. And I moved pots, and they moved out my life. And it was for the good. And the thing is what I would say for you, Craig, and anyone listening, be who you are, don't conform. Like, you know, you've obviously got a talent, you've only been speaking to a short while, and you've said things that are rattling around in my head, and I'm thinking, I really like that. You've got a very good way of communicating complex things in a very simple way, and I love that, and that's a skill. But you've got to get it out there and keep getting it out there, because it will improve. And then what happens, it's like the job I do now, I never, if you'd have said to me when I was a kid, this is what you'd be doing now, I'd have gone, nah. Even specialising in PTSD and trauma, I tried to stay away from that, because I said, I thought, I'm not going to be able to heal this story, or, you know, I'll be too scared and it will hurt me too much, this, that, and that's what I specialise in. It's crazy. And like years ago when I was speaking to Kev, I kind of had a thing where I thought me and him will be talking together one day about his blindness and everything. And 15 years later, we had such a great day, because we didn't get off to the best starts, because for one reason or another. Yeah. But at the end of it, he bossed it, and we're in the pub having a pint, high-fiving each other, going, smash that.
But go back to what you did say, but if you could imagine yourself where you were as a child, I think that's wrong with education. I go, so you know, 15-year-old boy or girl, what are you going to do for the rest of your life? How many people do we know who have actually gone, and have stuck with it? Life's a journey, and you've got to find out. I went into media studies because I write poetry. Well, I used to write poetry, and I'm starting to get back into it. And I wanted to be into writing and talking, and then you don't do it, and then I fell into what I'm doing now. But not many of us find one shot, one kill. We have to keep doing it and falling over. Going, I didn't enjoy that working at the butcher's. I didn't enjoy working at the florist. I didn't enjoy. And then one day, if you're lucky, you find something.
But aren't all those experiences that we have, the failures, they're the bits that shape us? Like when I collapsed, it was by far worse than getting stabbed. It was the worst time of my life for a good 18 months. Good 18 months. Very, very dark place. Really, really dark. And it was the worst part of my life. But everything I learnt in that time is what I do now. And that's a crazy thing.
It's mad. I mean, here's an example. If I say Richard Branson, what's the first thing you think?
Money, Virgin.
Virgin, exactly. That's a success. That's one of his biggest successes. Now you don't think of the time when he was a little boy, a schoolboy, and he tried to start up a Christmas tree business.
Dyslexic.
That failed. Dyslexic.
He was bankrupt.
Exactly.
You know, a lot of the things. And all sorts of...
But you won't listen. You won't hear them, and because you don't want to hear them, and that's part of your ego. You want to see the success, and you want to.
Did you know that Richard Branson suffers with public speaking anxiety?
Wow. I do actually. Yeah, I did read that. I did read that.
Yeah.
And that's crazy because you think someone of his stature, you know. Yeah. He'd be able to do that quite comfortably.
But we've all got things that we can't do. We've all got things that we feel uncomfortable doing. It's not that you can't do them, but we feel uncomfortable to do it. And that's what I was going to bring us back to what we were saying earlier to Nick. I have different ways that you can think to bring down that nerve level or that anxiety level.
Yeah, so, you know, obviously avoid danger, but, you know, pursue your goals, and then you'll experience fear and worry. So the first thing to do is to be clear about what you want to do, and then get yourself a measure of what your level of fear is. So you need to basically understand what it is you fear. So there'll be some pictures in your mind, there'll be some sounds, you'll be mentally rehearsing, probably the worst case scenario. So the first thing is to fully accept that. So it's like, I'll give you an example. Like when I came back here and was doing some training, this, that and the other, it was a worry about, have I got a spa or anything? And there was an image of me being knocked clean out and everyone laughing, and then me being carried out on a stretcher and this, that and the other. So the secret is firstly admit your fear. And then once you've got the fear, it's to get hold of the feelings that you get. So it'll be your heart rate, you will be going, you'll be lots of adrenaline dumped to your muscles and things like that. So the first thing I say is to relax your posture. So I have an acronym I use called LIMA. So the first thing when you're feeling fear or even anxiety, you can use this for both, is to loosen all the muscles in your body. So the best thing you can do is to sit back on a chair, lie down on a couch, and just make sure you get all your muscles really loose and limp. The second thing you need to do is inhale, that's the I, and basically do a diaphragmatic breath. So you pull in the air into the bottom 2/3 of your lungs, pushing your stomach out. And what that does is whenever danger goes, so if there was a tiger ran in here, we're all panicking, and then it got captured by the zookeeper and he said, you're all safe now, we'd all likely go, that big deep breath, and we start laughing.
It's like when you're running for a bus, isn't it? You run, you go, you get on the bus.
And after the danger's gone, that's what your breathing changes, and it activates what's called your parasympathetic nervous system, produces cooling chemicals, and then brings the body back to homeostasis, back to balance. The next thing I say is to meditate, so to close your eyes. And then what I would say to do with the pictures in terms of NLP, we call it changing the submodalities, is draining all the colour out of the terrible situation that you're looking at. See it on a movie screen, so you're not actually looking through your eyes. Drain all the colour out of it and push it off into the distance. And when you're meditating, you can either, there's two ways of doing it. You can either close your eyes and just focus on a point, so you can focus on the middle of your forehead, which you call a third eye meditation, or you can focus on your crown chakra at the top of your head, depending on who you want. Or if you want your eyes open, just look at a point on the wall and wait till your peripheral vision blurs, and then you'll know you're into the meditative state. And then the last thing is the A, which is affirmations. So one of the affirmations I say to people is, I'm cool, calm and relaxed. Keep saying that to yourself in your mind really slowly. I'm cool, calm and relaxed. Whatever happens, I'll be okay. And just repeating those things. And then whatever endeavour you go into, you'll find that your anxiety levels loosen.
Because it was Nick who helped me, because I used to suffer with terrible anxiety, and working with him and doing hypnotherapy. I used to have a terrible fear of injections for having meningitis, and I had loads of injections, and so whenever I had to go for a blood test,